Hey, do you remember Neopets?
Create your very own Neopet and explore the many lands of Neopia.
I was kind of in their target demographic when they peaked. I was a tech-savvy 8-year-old with an internet connection, as slow as it may be.
I've sat here for 10 minutes waiting for my Kougra to load into the giant omelet. Gonna get some eggs and soup.
Oh god, did I really sound like that? No. Neopets was a defining part of early 2000s culture. I mean, it has 150 million total users, and at its peak in 2005, 35 million active users, which is an insane number given the time period. I mean, these days, even if you don't have clean drinking water in your tiny village in the middle of nowhere, you probably still have a decent connection to the internet. But at the time, the vast majority of people had never even used, or possibly never even heard of, an internet. And despite that, if Neopets was a country, we'd probably have world peace by now, but also it'd be the 9th most populated country. And the small team of British developers in the 90s who were creating just wonderful works of art like these, they definitely had no idea what kind of legacy they'd be leaving behind. But left behind, they did. Just after Neopets peaked in 2005, they sold Neopets to Viacom, the Nickelodeon company, and they did what they always do.
Milk.
But it's dead now. Oh. And it's been dead ever since. Or rather, its corpse is still just barely hanging on, because it is still active. You can still go use it. And there are still numerous forums and Reddit users still dedicated to Neopia, the name of the Neopets world. But I have heard the sentence, "Neopets is coming back!" just so many times over the last decade and a half. Like, I don't super think it is. It sees waves of use for sure, but almost entirely driven by nostalgia. Heck, thanks to this video and it being the 25th anniversary this year, I'm sure it'll get a small swell in users again. But actually, maybe this time it is different, because as of just last year, it's in new hands again. Self-bought and owned by a new company, World of Neopia Incorporated, who apparently have grand plans for this year, which is likely possible thanks to them no longer having corporate overlords. So perhaps this time it is finally coming back for real. And I think I'd love that. But I don't want to get my hopes up. But now we enter the main part of today's video. It's simple. There are 55 Neopets, and I'm going to show them all to you in alphabetical order, and I'm just gonna kinda explain them. You know, like why are they named what they are? What are they kinda based on? Are there any cool facts or lore? Oh, and you should definitely know that every Neopet has dozens of colors and forms. Each one can be painted using fancy paints to completely change their color, outfits, or even biology. Not every paint is compatible with every Neopet though, but you'll still be definitely seeing a lot of their best designs here. But just know, this isn't even like a 20th of them. There's so many. And also, Neopets have types, kinda sorta, which were given to them in the trading card game. We're not really going to get into those types since they aren't important to their designs at their core, but you should be able to tell what type they are based on the background. Like Acara. Look at Acara. It's a weird one for sure, but it's water type, so it gets a watery background. Bam! It looks like a fluffy cat with extra ears, horns, and rodent feet. Definitely unique, and to make it more silly, it's named after a species of fish, the Acaras. Why? Well, because Acaras, the Neopet, are aquatic. Their fur is said to keep them warm and waterproof, and its horn-like protrusions let it hear really well underwater. And if you look at its earlier design, yeah, that definitely points it more into the aquatic category. Aisha screams early 2000s aesthetic to me more than any other Neopet, with the clear neo-futurism, power-puffy plastic, and electro-techno internet scene, cyberpunk, anime mainstreaming, aliens are all the rage, and Japan is officially cool. Everyone wants to anime. All that stuff. Aisha would be perfect in Space Channel 5, and sure enough, its name is Japanese too. Aisha means loving ones, and Aisha is the only Neopet able to be painted alien, which makes me think that that's definitely a main design origin point as well. It's like an alien animal, hence it also being seen as incredibly intelligent. Typical alien trope stuff. Blumaroo is always happy and singing and bouncing around, but it sure looks strange, like a kangaroo crossed with Eeyore and a plush anteater. I don't even know, but they bounce on their tails like Tigger, so that's fun. It's a Blumaroo! Bloomin' being common Australian slang, and Australia is where kangaroos live. Blumaroo! Bori is an armadillo crossed with a donkey and an oddly furry face. Very strange. It bores into the earth to build societies deep underground, hence the name Bori, maybe. Or perhaps the donkey resemblance is even more purposeful, as burro is Spanish for donkey. It could also be short for Boris, a common Slavic name, which can mean small, glory, or wolf. I guess that explained the weirdly furry head too. Bruce is a fun one. I mean, it's a cartoon penguin with a bow tie. That's not fun. But when you get into its history, you realize something pretty silly. This was Bruce's original design, see, and that's no joke. It was literally a PNG cutout of this dude, and then here's the second version, which just makes it fit with the site's art style. Who is this man? Oh, why, it's Bruce Forsyth, of course. Oh, you don't know who that is. It's a favorite British TV personality of Neopets creator Adam Powell. And don't you think this was a one-time joke thing? There are actually 2 other human Neopets that were later redesigned as Neopets grew in popularity. Keeping people as pets is either wrong, weird, or kinky, depending on everything involved. But whichever it is, it's not really something Neopets needed on its website. But Bruce the Neopet Penguin works well as an homage to Bruce Forsyth either way, as he was famously always in a tuxedo with a bow tie, and penguins are often said to be wearing tuxedos themselves, and Forsyth even had this pose that he'd do all the time in his shows because it was swanky. Bruce the Neopet pulls it off a bit better. Buzz. Buzz is a waspy dragonfly dragon. Its wings buzz around as it flies. It's also the second smallest Neopet at only 22 centimeters tall, so definitely a bug, and one without much else to say beyond it being acrobatic and kind. Cool. Also, Buzz was a very cool thing to name people, kids at the time, because it was radical. Chia, except I shouldn't use the old Chia Pet commercial here, because the makers of Chia Pets actually sued Neopets over Chia. This little eggplanty potato plant blob Neopet that, with the touch of magical Chia Pops, they can undergo mind-boggling transformations. Basically, there was a special food you could give them to change them entirely, mostly causing new fruit or plant parts to grow. Wow, that doesn't sound like Chia Pets at all, which exploded in popularity around the same time as Neopets. They settled out of court, so we don't know the real outcome, but Chia the Neopet was allowed to keep its name. But at the same time, no basic unnamed Chias are in the Neopets trading card game, even though it's a classic Neopet. Well, if it's not named after the famous and similarly shaped Chia Pet, it could be that they both just have the same namesake, chia seeds, from the Salvia hispanica plant, a common health food to eat in their seed and or sprout forms. Chomby is an adorable dinosaur. It's like an Amargasaurus with Stegosaurus plates along its spine. Its entire personality revolves around food, specifically large leaves and grass. Definitely feels like a Land Before Time tree star muncher. Also extremely popular at the time. This aspect ties into its name too. All day and all night, it just chomps on leaves, so it's named after the fact. Chomby, just babifying the word chomp. And then Cybunny is just a pet bunny, really, but it's a Neopet on the internet. This hot, new, way too cool thing, the web, cyberspace. So it's a cyber bunny. And yes, that's all there really is to it. Cyber bunny! Draik is a drake, a kind of dragon that it actually isn't, but Draik is also a cool name to name your baby boy in the 90s. Radical. I knew quite a few. As for its design, it has traits of both Eastern and Western dragons. Looks like it fit right into Dragon Tales. I mean, drakes are said to be incredibly wise too, after all. Before I show you, can you just take a guess what kind of animal you think Elephante is based on? Yeah, it's an elephant, but one with a bunny tail, wings, and a little crown, similar to the headwear worn by circus and war elephants, particularly Indian ones, which is fitting, since winged elephants are no stranger in Indian stories. And ironically, these are one of the smaller Neopets. This dude is only 41 centimeters. And we follow it immediately with the largest Neopet, Eyrie, standing at a whopping 160 centimeters tall, or in more American units, about 4 Elephantes tall. It is a griffin through and through, a lion crossed with a bird of prey, which is also where it gets its name. And Eyrie is the specific term for a nest belonging to a bird of prey, rather than a bird nest just in general. It's like an eagle nest, so very fitting. Plus, it just sounds fantastical too on top of that. And then Flotsam is the smallest Neopet, and it makes Flotsams, I guess. How violent! A Flotsam is the floating wreckage of a ship. But Flotsam the Neopet is a dolphin thing with a horn, perhaps like a narwhal. That's probably how it sunk the ships. Jumping ahead in the alphabet, there's also Jetsam, the shark version of Flotsam, pretty much. Even its name is a word that refers to cargo jettisoned from a ship in distress. Say, "Oh no, our ship is sinking! Lighten the load! Throw the cargo overboard!" That's the Jetsam. And then the boat fails anyway and leaves behind a Flotsam. Fun fact about these two, while they were originally typical Neopets, in 2001 they became limited edition. Why? Well, because Jetsams were hunting Flotsams so much they became endangered, and then because their main food source was endangered, they too became endangered. Oh no! Back in order now, I always hated Gelert, or Gelert as I used to say as a child, but even as a child, I always knew those ears are dumb. Dogs don't have ears like that. Forget about the aquatic cat with multiple ears and horns or the donkey armadillo hybrid. This is the dumb and outlandish idea. The name seems to imply that it is an alert, gel-like being. I mean, those ears would make it alert of everything. Why are you barking?
The mailman just left the post office across town. Bark! Bark! Bark!
But no, it turns out the name just comes from a Welsh legend about Prince Leowyn, who just had an extremely loyal and heroic dog with the same name, Gelert. The name means brave. Gnorbu is one of the newer Neopets, and thus one of only a few not in the card game. Sad. But either way, it's just a joke of a Neopet, and that's no joke. The thing is a llama that loves laughing and telling jokes. In fact, it was revealed on April 1st, 2005. As you see, llamas were one of the many victims of the early lol so random rar XD phenomenon that was just starting at the time. Oh, remember Bunchy? I try not to. But then, by popular demand, Gnorbu was made an actual Neopet in 2006. And even its name is a joke. Gnorbu is Tibetan for jewel and is a common last name in the region. But what do llamas have to do with Tibet? Well, nothing in terms of the animal, but everything in terms of the name they give their leader, the Dalai Lama. Haha. According to the Neopets team, Grarrl was the first Neopet ever drawn. And it definitely looks like it. It's an even more generic Reptar, who was already a generic Godzilla. Egad. It's a voracious, loud T-Rex, able to feed itself using any item, not just food items. They'll chow down on anything! Rocks, clothes, you! They often show their teeth and growl, snarl, roar even. Hence the name Grarrl! Grundo just sounds like a generic cartoon foreigner name, right? And sure enough, it's an alien. Your classic 90s Y2K alien. It'd fit perfectly into that old Buzz Lightyear cartoon or Lilo and Stitch. And funnily enough, the name is just Esperanto for Earth. Not the planet, but the term for like dirt, soil, ground, and stuff, which I guess is also what our planet is named after. Huh. So pretty ironic either way. Naming something not of this world after the world, and that it's in now. Hissi is a snake, because with a name like that, what else could it be? Hiss is the iconic snake sound, after all. But at least it's not just a snake, it has wings. And can use those wings as hands, even. Winged serpents are nothing new, however. There's the Amphimpter from Europe, Quetzalcoatl from the Aztecs, and in fact, winged feathered serpents are common throughout American mythology. Ixi. Now there's a Neopet that always gave me the ick. I was never fond of it as a kid, but they are curious little deer-goat guys who seem friendly at first, but they are forest-dwelling mischievous tricksters by nature. Quite literally like many fairy tale creatures, like pixies, its very likely namesake. And actually that then makes me think of fawns and satyrs, other fairy tale creatures that are also very mischievous and are half man, half goats. So maybe there's some ibex inspiration in the design and name too, a species of mountain goat. Jubjub! Oh man, I remember in grade school making these all the time. Not Jubjub specifically, but what I assume the Jubjub is based on. These little pom-pom creatures or monsters you'd make out of pom-poms, felt, and googly eyes. A frequent early elementary activity for rainy days. They were all the rage where I was, anyway. Plus, pom-pom, Jubjub, same inflection. Though it turns out my assumption might be wrong, as these were originally named Jubjubs, which is the same as this monster from Fighting Fantasy, an old D&D competitor. See the resemblance? Yeah, Jubjub is much cuter.
Kacheek!
Gelert is the second most popular Neopet, and I agree. I still have my Kacheek plush. They sort of became the Pikachu of Neopets now that I think about it. They are short, shy, and peaceful. As a kid, I always thought it was a weird cat with downwards horny ears, but now, given the posture, tail, and name, I'm thinking squirrel or chipmunk-like. Loosely, of course, but like they stand up, have long tails, and store things in their cheeks, yeah? Cow is a cow.
Hey, I have a cow.
At least the name is spelled differently. They make milk and drink it too. In fact, drinking milk fully restores them, because it's theirs, designed specifically for them. Healthy! Interestingly, cows seem to be magical, or at least more magical leaning than most Neopets, as the three fancy NPC cows are the Master Potion Maker, the Fortune Teller, and the somewhat psychic poker player. This penchant for magic is likely due to the Taurus sign in astrology, the Bull constellation, which itself is often associated with the opening of the third eye, enlightenment, the gaining of spiritual and/or psychic power. Bullseye. Kiko are one of the original Neopets, and I somehow completely forgot it existed, probably for the better. They are strange amphibious balls with webbed hands and a bandage on their heads. They are said to be pacifists, so it's not like they're getting into fights. Well, it's also said that they adore thrilling adventures like zooming down water slides and bravely tackling theme park rides. So maybe it's just clumsy when it comes to those activities. Koi is a koi, not even spelled differently this time. A shame. And visually, it's a fantail goldfish with the Freddy Fish face that can turn the ends of its fins into hands. That bit's creative, I guess. Yeah, plus goldfish are closely related to koi, so it works. Now, the very friendly, kind, and welcoming Korbat. It's a bat, maybe like a Honduran white bat or a ghost bat. You see, all four of its basic colors only change the wing color, so that white body clearly must be important to the little flying clansman, hence the K in the name. No, that's a really stupid joke. The name might be a batty play on core blimey, or even just British English cure, which is an exclamation of surprise or expression of interest and admiration, amazement. Wow, it's a bat. Core, it's a bat in it. Cure. Remember, Neopets is British, and actually the saying came about in the 1800s as a corrupted swear. God blind me was a common swear in England at the time, which over the next century became cure blimey. And that all could play into Korbat being a bat because they are frequently said to be blind. Yeah! But hey, we're just over halfway through now. How about that? Sounds like the perfect time for a break. In flow. So now a word from our sponsor. This is the coolest educational toy game puzzle thing I have ever touched. I used to think I understood electricity plenty, but having now toyed around with this thing, I understand it on a much more fundamental level. Spintronics takes the complicated and dangerous world of electric circuits and teaches it to anyone ages 8 to adult through an easy-to-understand analogous model. Mechanical gears, using chains instead of wires. For example, this works the same way an electrical capacitor works. The more you turn it, the harder it is to turn more. It needs more spin volts, which analogously works the same way as real volts. And the junction gear, working both as an electrical junction and a transformer. I love being able to physically feel and see how it's converting voltages. Speaking of, the inductor, alternating currents, I understand now! And the game comes in the form of a booklet featuring beautiful comic illustrations and instructions on how to initially set up each challenge, and what your end goal is, and what parts you're allowed to use to try and achieve it. And it flows so well from getting you to understand the basics to, okay, now this is complex. It's no wonder then that Spintronics won several toy awards. It is a fantastic gift for curious minds, and you can learn more and see it in action at upperstory.com/Spintronics. And be sure to use the coupon code LOXTON for 10% off. Look at it, it's a whole like alternating current thing made of gears. That's so cool. And we're back. And ooh, what a treat, my favorite. Kougra is the third most popular Neopet, but my favorite overall. It's pretty basic though, all things considered. It's a tiger cub. Tigers are big cats, so are cougars, so it's named Kougra. What's the gra come from then? Well, also tiger, but in Sanskrit. Viagra, and this is a language spoken mostly in India, which is where many tigers live. And from one of the most used Neopets ever, we go to the least used. Krawk. So there's about 16 million Kougra being used, right? That's kind of a lot But Krawk, oh Krawk, oh no, buddy, only 3 million. Minus 3 of the zeros, yes, there are only 3,000 of them, But it's not because it's unpopular or hated or anything, it's just also the rarest and hardest to get. Most Neopets you can just get. Maybe you have to go to a specific location, or maybe there's only certain days and such. Sometimes you need to hatch it from an egg or feed something to another Neopet, but in the case of Krawk, you first have to get the Krawk pet. Oh yeah, your Neopets can have pets, and they are called pets. There's like 500 of them. We will not be going over those unless this video does wonders, so like and subscribe and share this. So you get your already super rare Krawk pet, take it to the hidden fungus cave, and have it eat some fungus, and then it becomes Krawk the Neopet. Wow. Even in Neopets lore, Krawks are hard to find. Their existence is even considered fabled by some. And oh, I wanted one so bad because I was also so very fond of the game Krawk at the time. I love crocodiles. Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's a crocodile, hence the name just being Krawk but spelled wrong. Kyrii, or Kyrii. Well, another favorite of child me. They are adventurous travelers, and they are very prideful of their hair and quite business savvy. The huge. Physically, they seem somewhat weaselly, perhaps crossed with a hedgehog? As interestingly, Kyrii was originally named Fuzzio and looked like this. They are fast. And yes, that is absolutely Sonic, but a pom-pom. Sonic was still way past cool back then, and the drastic redesign was likely done for copyright reasons. The name is tricky though. Notably, a Kyrii is a thing, spelled just a tad different, but it's a brief responsive prayer set to music. It's called that because it typically starts with the Greek words Kyrie eleison, which means Lord have mercy. Please, Lord Sega, have mercy! We changed the design! Please don't add to the pile of copyright lawsuits, please! Is it a Kirin? A mythical Asian unicorn? It's got the right ears, mane, and tail. Perhaps a Kirin crossed with a weasel? Thing? It's Lenny, everybody! A seriously smart tall bird. Is it a stork, a condor, an ostrich, secretary bird, flamingo? All of the above? Yes! Lenny! Such a silly-sounding name, fitting of its silly-looking face. But it's just excited to share knowledge. The guy's so smart, and I wish I really had a solid answer as to why it's named Lenny. I mean, it's one of the original Neopets. It should be conclusive, but alas, all I have is this theory. So Neopets' whole deal is that they are on the internet, right? It was a revolutionary new thing at the time. Lenny is the name Leonard for short, and Leonard Kleinrock was a brilliant and well-known scientist responsible for the creation of the internet in the first place. This is the dude that developed packet switching, for those of you who know what that means. And as such, this was the first person to send a message between two computers on a network. He is the granddaddy of the internet. And out of everyone honored in the Internet Hall of Fame, he's certainly the silliest looking, and I say that endearingly. He also personally credits his success in developing the internet prototype to the Bird Challenge during his Boy Scout days, a challenge involving going out in nature and identifying dozens of birds by name. Maybe that all has to do with the Neopet? Any other ideas? Maybe the developer's dad was named Lenny or something. Lupe is a lupine lupus. That's Latin for wolf. It's brave and loyal, so wow, it's a big dog. It's the 4th most popular, which doesn't surprise me. Furries had limited material back then. They hunt Chias, and their treats are Chia-shaped. The Neopet here, not the furries. Lutari is an otter with an extra long tail. They are high energy, build dams like beavers, and are excellent swimmers. The name comes from the name of the subfamily of otters, Lutrinae. Ending with Eyrie could just be to make it sound more like a name, but it could also pull from Japanese, where many words and even sentences end with ari, which is a contraction of the verb arimasu, which means to be or to exist. It's a bit more philosophical and grammatically specific than that, but the specifics are pages long. This is an otter. Here, it exists. Otter is its name. It is Lutari. Meerca's name makes it sound like it's a meerkat, which it kind of is. More so behaviorally rather than physically, though. Meerkats like to stand up tall and straight and get a good look around, just like Meerca, though Meerca does so by lifting itself up on its tail. There's even an NPC Meerca named Timon. Physically, they are a big jumble of rodents and things. Squirrels, mice, chipmunks, beavers, all jumbled together to make, well, this. But honestly now, there was no Neopet I hated more than the speedy Mohawk. Something about it just never sat right with me. And its name and design is as deep as these next 4 words. Warthog with a mohawk. Maybe I hated them because they were just so
so common in the card game.
Moonsea is a monkey, about as cute generic as a monkey can get. Funnily enough, when it was first introduced, it was just this ginger guy who was a friend of the dev team and Welsh, hence the name Moonsea just being a corruption of the Welsh word for monkey. Moonsea. Nemo is the old Leapfrog mascot all but officially. It is a yoga-mastering, meditating martial artist who seeks spiritual and mental clarity, and thus is quite intelligent. Frogs are often associated with slow meditation in media, always at peace, floating on a lily pad. The good life. Nemo is a Scottish Gaelic surname that supposedly means angel or angelic, which could relate to its spiritual inclinations, but it's also very similar to several last names common in India, like Nimi, Nimana, Nimorata, and more. And they have meanings like humble, calm, and polite, but even without those meanings, it's fitting, as India is the origin of yoga and many meditation practices. Or maybe it's just similar to the first name Nemo, which is Latin for nobody, as giving up yourself to achieve nirvana is a thing, I think. IDK. But the name just fits. It just sounds like a froggy amphibian name too, doesn't it? Nemo! But then Ogrin. Oh, grin. Ogrin is no ogre.
Layers!
It's an okapi with a big grin. Once they get to know you, anyway. They take a while to warm up to anyone new. I like how it's not just an okapi, though, as it also has the mane and tail of a donkey, and llama ears, and paws instead of hooves. If you haven't gathered by now, very few Neopets are just one thing, I say, as we then go to Piofin, who is a hippocampus, a mythical horse mermaid. And then that's Piofin, it's a hippocampus. They're Greek, it has a fin, it's kind of like a dolphin, hence the fin in the name, and Pio is Greek for phallic. I am not kidding, though I don't think the devs really thought of that. Peon is a person held in servitude to work out a debt. In India, a peon is a low-ranking unskilled menial worker, a workhorse doing basic hard labor, perhaps. Maybe it's just a pony dolphin, a peony, peoply dolphin. Poogles are said to be related to Kacheek, and they are definitely the less cool of the two. Now, every Neopet has a plushie variant, but only Poogles have an MSP variant, which means malevolent sentient plushie. So it being just a touch evil has something to do with its design. I mean, after all, their official description even states, despite their adorable appearance, these competitive canines harbor an arsenal of razor-sharp teeth, making it kind of like a gremlin, perhaps? Wait, a canine? Is it a poodle? That is probably the best-looking poodle I have ever seen. Oh wait, a poogle is actually a dog breed too. It's a poodle-beagle mix. I still think the Neopet looks better. Terry is a playful pterodactyl. Wait, no, it's just a bird. Looks like a little finch thing. Very generic bird. Though the tail is fancy, it's articulated, which bird tails aren't in the same way. However, the tail of the common bird ancestor, the Archaeopteryx, is. So Terry might just be a shortened corruption of the end of Archaeopteryx. Terry. Hey! Quiggle is a frog, and a much better one than Nemo, IMO. But I just gotta get this fun fact out of the way. If you feed Quiggle any cream-based item, it gets sick, which may be a reference to the old way of keeping milk fresh before refrigeration. Putting a frog in it? No, really. Frog skin has antibiotic compounds and stuff to help keep the milk from spoiling. But let's say it doesn't do the frog any good. Those poor things. So the name. Well, they are happy-go-lucky and energetic. They wiggle, they giggle, and frogs live in quays and quagmires, and Q names are just cool. Rookie, it's like if an ant and a praying mantis were the same. The name may sound like Rookie, but they are anything but. Their durable exoskeletons and great resolve makes them champions of defense and traveling under the scorching sun of the deserts they call home. They are almost like a rook, the castle chess piece which can move as far as it wants in a straight line. Castles are very defensive, and the name Rook comes from chess's Persian origins, desert dwellers who would cross the land on their own rooks, as the word originally translates to chariot rather than castle. Scorchio is a little western dragon with an obvious name. Also, it definitely looks like they were trying to go for baby's first Charmeleon Zard. I don't know, but it's a fire-breathing dragon. They live in volcanoes. They can scorch you! And EO is a common way to end names, especially Italian ones. Not saying that it's Italian, it's just the first thing I thought of. I always thought Scorchios were ugly, but like a cute kind of ugly, you know? Like a lot of small dogs. They're just so ugly, but cute. in a way. And we follow it up with what is easily the most anime of all the Neopets. Remember, this is the time when anime was just beginning to really become mainstream in the West. It was all the rage. So sure enough, it's no surprise that Shoryu is the most popular and most used Neopet ever, with nearly 18 million of them owned. Wow. And it's more anime than just its massive anime eyes. The designer based the pet on Mew, the Pokemon, but added dragon features to avoid copyright issues. And its name is Japanese too. Sho means rising, and Ryu means dragon. It's a rising dragon. What do you think about that, Ken? Oh, yeah!
Ah, Skeeth, huh? Looks like every cartoon skull bully, right? Only a fat gargoyle.
And Keith is just such a stereotypical bully name too, I love it. Though we do know exactly where this name comes from. Neopet's first artist, Alex Skeeth. Thankfully it still feels fitting given the whole bully feel vibe. Yeah, like Grarrl, Skeeths can eat anything. Furniture, rocks, pets. Oh yeah, the pets can have pets. We're not gonna get into that. Being kinda mean and lazy, if they are hungry enough, they will actually just steal and eat any random thing in your inventory. So be extra diligent when caring for one. Tekko is a way cool, acrobatic, fun-loving gecko. It's a gecko. On the internet, in your computer. This hip new thing. It's technology. Techno gecko. Tekko. Look, I gotta talk about each one of these for at least 10 seconds for the YouTube chapters, okay? Tonu! Yeah, we'll put a lion's mane on a rhinoceros. That's a good idea. Oddly, they can only be created after the giant omelet runs out for the day. Do they hate eggs or something? Oh, they are even allergic to eggs. Egg-like fruit. They clearly must hate eggs. Tonu is a Nigerian name, fitting since lions and rhinos live in the region, and in one common language spoken there, Igbo, it means praise thee, or to praise, to hail.
Hail to the king, baby.
Then likely completely coincidentally, Tonu is also a word in Maori, which means immediately, but also to continue, unceasing, constantly moving forward with permanence. Like a charging rhino. Unstoppable. Tuscanini lacks tusks. Like it's a seal thing. Was it a walrus originally? No. It's never had tusks. Why name it that then? Well, Tuscanini, spelled differently, is a thing. It's what you call the things and people from Tuscany, a region in Italy famous for insert Italian thing. The archipelago found around the region is home to many Mediterranean monk seals, so the name is fitting, I suppose. Tuscanini's name, ending with a double N and a Y, makes it a ninny, though, which means a foolish person, you big ninny, nincompoop. I bet if you made a Neopets account, you'd use a uni. Yeah, uni, like the sea urchin. That's a cool Neopet, except it's actually just a stupid unicorn. Except no, it's not even a unicorn, it's an alicorn, a horse with a horn and wings. So the name isn't even pulling itself from the right roots. And just imagine going on to Neopets, this new futuristic internet thing, and having the most vanilla of fantasy creatures as your pet. Lame! Usul is cute though. It's like a squirrel with a rabbit's mane and ears. Perhaps the name is mixing squirrel with usagi, Japanese for rabbit. And they have more unique to them items and items depicting them than any other Neopet, though this is mostly due to Usuki Land, a shop that sells Usuki dolls, which are basically like the Barbie dolls of the Neopets world. And they are all Usuls. I guess that explains the brushed upwards hair and the bow and the hair ties and all that with Usul. Every fashion-forward 6-year-old girl kind of thing would be like this. Though their own self-obsession gets a bit weird when you also consider that they are, quote, very proud of being Usuls, and how their default description states, Usul power, multiple times. Ha! Vandergeir is the newest Neopet. 2014! It was used to celebrate Neopet's 15th anniversary. It's an owl bear, a fantasy combo of an owl and a bear, though Vandergeir mixes it up a tiny bit, because it's not just a grizzly bear and an owl, it's a panda and a gyre falcon. Hence the name Vandergeir. Oh yeah, the designers mentioned the name starts with a V so that there would be a Neopet for every letter in the alphabet. V was the only missing one. But I do like that they like tea parties and gardens, and how they are very particular about what they wear. It makes me wonder if Through the Looking Glass had any role in its design. The Alice in Wonderland sequel sort of invented the word gyre in a nonsense poem called Jabberwocky in the book. Now, Wocky, wait, didn't I just say Jabberwocky? What is going on? Wocky are bold and adventurous, though visually they are just fluffy cats. Like, put it up there with Lupe and Uni as the most uninspired, but I'll admit, I had one, and I loved it. I just really like cats. The name, though, yeah, it's not wacky at all. It's just a cat. And it also looks nothing like the Jabberwocky in Wonderland either. Is the name just like a roundabout reference to the Cheshire Cat? Another character in the story? Like, I know both are British, but there's gotta be other famous cats that you can reference. Oh, but it's gotta start with a W, though. Okay. Wheelix, Walliver, Weathwiff, Warfield, Zweetok are super soft forest dwellers. It's like if a chinchilla was also a gerbil mouse chipmunk thing. No wonder they hate Kougras. The name is weird though. Is it a Xerus? Southern African ground squirrels? Maybe. They got the dark fur, fluffy tail, and stripes. These Neopets are wee? British slang for small, and they're probably pretty often victims of sweet talk. When you see them, you always gotta talk like this. I made that last part up. So honestly, the name could just be cool-sounding gibberish. I mean, anytime a name of a fictional thing starts with X, it's just for the cool factor. And plus, Donna, one of the original creators of Neopets, stated in a Reddit AMA, "Zweetok and Ogryn were my parting gift to Neopets. I thought they were the most hideous pet designs and worst names I had ever heard, so I approved them." The original creators did not leave happily, cause, you know, Viacom. But like, Ogryn's name kinda worked. Why not Zweetok's too? And heck, why not Yerbil? Yerbil had nothing to do with the drama. Yerbil is a furble. It's like if a bear and a lion were tiny together. I guess both call their babies cubs. Is it small like a gerbil? Well, they love to go camping and eat a lot. And fittingly then, they were first revealed through Neopets' Happy Meal toys before they were even available online. Yeah, Neopets got that big. And lastly, we have Zafara, who was originally more of a weasel with a Chinese dragon's tail and back spines, but later it became more like a wallaby. With dragon spiky spines still though. It's weird, even for a Neopet, but at least the name is simple. In Hindi, Zafara means burning a fire, or brightened with fire, which is fitting given its dragon parts and its innate ability to just create fire that I didn't mention it having. Because yeah, it can just create fire, and it's light type, so it's brightened. See, Neopets can be deep when they wanna be, and even when they don't, they are still fun little guys. Dress them up, feed them, play games, give them a pet, then a pet to pet, then give that pet a pet. Call it a pet pet. Watch the pet the pet as you pet your pet's pet. This is so dumb, I love it. And oof, talk about a nostalgia trip, sheesh. And yeah, their website is still around and kicking. I mean, it even survived the death of Flash, which the entire thing was based on. And while the new dedicated owners have not even had it for a year, they have already started a grand countdown clock to celebrate its 25th anniversary. Hopefully with a big relaunch that brings the Neopet name back into every schoolyard. But in the meantime, I suppose we'll just watch that clock and hope as it ticks on and on, like us all, eternally marching forward, already past our prime, and all we can do is reminisce and try again, and never succeed. Or maybe you will, you never know. But what kind of creature collector thing should I cover next? Let me know down below, and never stop using your noggin.